So I will just hand the word over to you, Marcus, to start.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Michael, and thank you for all the listeners listening in to our presentation today. It is myself, Marcus, and John Bo Henriksen, our CFO, sitting here, and I'm the CEO in Bawat. So welcome to everybody. The agenda today is that we will go through a little bit about what Bawat is from a technology point of view, the markets that we serve, the technology that we have. And then we will also use, and I will leave that in the capable hands of John, that we will go through. We just released the first half-year details and results, and John will give details on that. And then we will round off with question and answers. And in terms of the headline, we are biting more into, let's say, the green part of this discussion today, and less in the energy transition. But to start off with, Bawat means ballast water treatment, and that's what we do. I'll quickly scroll through. Sorry, it's not shifting slide here, Michael. Perfect. Thank you.
To change the slides, then I will do it.
Okay, perfect. Thanks very much. What we do is ballast water treatment, and you have to treat ballast water which is used on board ships across the world, because it's long been understood that it transports invasive marine species. And that is devastating for the marine environment, but also it has a big impact on economical systems across the globe. Long time ago, if you shift, Michael, please. It's actually made a resolution on international level, both on the IMO, which is the International Maritime Organization, and on US Coast Guard, which is the American equivalent, that this has to stop. So actually, as the market, what we're looking in today, the ships that are transporting these invasive species in the ballast water, they are not allowed to do it anymore. So all new build ships, which is somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 ships every year, and all existing ships, which is more than 60,000, they have to live up to this discharge criteria. The existing ship pool have been given a 5-year grace period from 19 to 24, where they have to live up to this discharge criteria. And they do that primarily by installing equipment to solve the ballast water treatment on board the ships. But there is also a very new market growing up, and that is actually that there is a ballast water reception facilities where you basically hand in your untreated ballast water at a dock or at a yard or at a port site, and then a port site facility basically treat it, and then you can discharge it as you want. So a little bit about the market and why the market is there, and if you shift the slide, Michael, and what is the Bawat solution and why is it a green solution? Well, in principle and basically our solution is very, very simple into this market, because we have looked at using energy, or let's say excess energy in this case, in terms of heat, primarily from ships, to actually treat the ballast water. And that is what we do. Very simple. We use the excess heat that is on board ships normally from cooling of the main engine, to heat treat the ballast water in such a way that it kills all invasive species. In that way, you get a very green system, because we don't use any chemicals, we don't use any extra energy, because we simply have the energy available on board the ships. You also get a system that mechanically is super simple, because heat exchangers and pumps and sensors that we're using in our systems are standard components that are known, and we don't have to put in very difficult operating components in the systems. From a green point of view, because it's a surplus heat on board the ships, we have a system that has a very, very low OPEX. We are patented and we are type approved. If you just shift the slide, Michael. This technology we are then using to tap into these 3 markets that I spoke about before. So on the left, we are tapping into vessels and ships with a very large market, both of existing ships, but also ships that are being built every year. We're also tapping this in by making mobile systems. This is primarily for port and yards. As I said, there is a market growing up where water is basically being pumped over the side into a port or yard facility, and it's been treating on land. And then we have the last leg that we are standing on from a business point of view is now ballast water as a service. And there we actually, together with partners, own our own mobile or land-based systems, and we sell the service to treat ballast water to customers. And I'll come back to that because it's a very interesting recurrent revenue part of our future business as well. If you shift slide, please. So not the first leg on ships. I don't want to go in details with all what we can do that I just mentioned. I think the interesting part relative to last time we have communicated is that we have made an agreement with one of the largest shipyards in the world that's called Diamond Green Solutions, where they are actually promoting our system to both their new buildings and all their retrofit ships that are coming into their repair yards. They are based across the globe. And this agreement that we signed in May this year, Diamond Green Solution has looked at the different ballast water treatment systems in the world and are now looking at us and saying, this is the system that we believe in. This is the system that we will push forward. So on top of our own sales strength, then of course, this is an opportunity to push more of our equipment and more of our solutions abroad. The next leg, if you shift the slide, Michael, please, is these mobile systems, where we are looking to have a mobile system. There, of course, we don't have surplus heat from a ship, so we put in the heat source that's available. There could be a boiler, there could be steam on board on the shore, it could be electricity, whatever is available, and it can be as green as it needs to be. And the interesting part of this is that if we look at our, and John will come back to it, but if we look at our full year guidance, we are seeing that these mobile systems, we have a couple of them firming very up, both in terms of engineering and commitment from the customers. And it's primarily into also the offshore and large barge industry. And this is a new market opening up for us. And because the competitive situation is almost negligible in this market, that opens up both for volume, but also a quite superior gross margin. John will come back to that as well. But it's a part of our business that we have great expectations in as well, because we are alone competitive-wise, and because the market is slowly seeing that ballast water can also be handled from onshore or from mobile systems. If you jump to the next slide, please, Michael. The last leg that we are stand on as a company, and which is this ballast water treatment as a service leg. We are together with partners. We bring the technology. We have partners that brings the operation experience, and we have other partners that brings the financing. We are setting up companies where we basically will operate our own equipment and receive untreated ballast water from customers. And it can be either planned service for people who does not want to operate ballast water systems on ship, but it is definitely also contingency service, because we are seeing a lot of installation on both the ships that are actually not compliant and not working today. We are focusing on the US and on Western Europe. In the US, we have already set up, we did that earlier this year, our first partner company called Freedom Ballast. We've done in June, we have done the first job ever executed in the US for land-based reception facility for ballast water. And we are slowly now raising capital to invest into this market together with our partners. We are also very close to an agreement with a Western European partner. So we, as we said in our half-year statement, we are expecting that within the end of this year, actually quite earlier than that, we expect to announce the first partnership in Western Europe as well. And the interesting part of this business is that it carries two opportunities for us. It carries both the opportunity of the service, where we are getting a recurrent service by selling cubic meter treated water, but we are of course also selling our hardware into the joint venture companies that we are setting up. So we are having a profit on both two of our business legs based on this service model here. If you ask the next slide, please, Michael. So if I sum up where we are as a company and the markets that we serve, yeah, we are looking for three different options, both short-term into ships, which is the big pool that needs to be retrofitted now, where everybody is busy. We are looking to buy it into a continued pool of new building ships, as I said, around 1,500 to 2,000 ships a year, where our system works for most of them. Our second is our mobile containers, where we are looking at ports and yards across the globe. US and Western Europe is where we are starting. And then we are looking at as the ballast water as a service. We have the first service job done in the US now. We have the first partnership agreement in joint venture in the US, and we are looking to have the first in Western Europe before the end of the year. If you just jump to the next slide, please. And I'll give the word to John regarding he will give some words on our first year performance that was released 10 days ago. John.
Thank you, Marcus. I'll just comment on our first half 22 numbers and also touch base on our full year guidance here. Our order intake increased from below 2 million SEK in first half of 21 to more than 9 million SEK in the first half of 22. So that is a significant increase. And actually, we already saw a pickup in the order intake in the second half of 21. So when I look at the running 12-month average order intake, I can see that from beginning of this year until now, we have actually also in this analysis increased with 65%. So significant increases and a step in the right direction in terms of our business development plans. Also, our sales has increased from 4.5 million SEK to 10.2 million SEK. Our sales is recognized based on the percentage of completion method, and therefore there is a one-to-one relationship more or less with our order intake timing and when we recognize the sales in our P&L. You can have as a rule of thumb that normally we are 4 to 6 months from order intake until we actually are ready to deliver our components to the customer, and this translates into a general rule to say that after 4 to 6 months we are about 90% finished with our projects, and hence we have 90% of the sales recognized at that point in time. This means also at these early days that the sales it's depending quite a lot on single orders. So for now we have decided not to guide on sales. We focus on the order intake. Later on, when we have a more steady flow of orders coming in, then we can bundle it and see tendencies, and then we will start guiding also on the sales side. But the focus right now is just to grow on order intake. Then the sales will follow with the timing depending on when the orders is actually coming in. We have also reported a gross profit of 5%. It is better than the same period last year, but 5% is not where we are. We do, however, have special items inside that number. So if we normalize it, we look at 20% gross margin for the average of our ongoing projects. What we have normalized for is a project with delayed profit. It will come, but it will come later when we realize some certain factors. And then we have also incurred cost to early stage projects where our more like pilot projects where we need to optimize the performance of the equipment. We will not leave the customer alone on these. And we have also earlier generation of our control system that needs some some adjustments to deliver the performance we have seen. When we normalize for this, we are actually quite happy to see that we have 20% earnings on average on the remaining of the projects, and this is in line with our expectations. Down the line, we expect this number to increase further. We will have, first of all, economics of scales. We will have serial orders with the same customer, repeat orders, but we will also have more volume on the supply chain side, which will allow us to get better prices. And on top of this, we actually do also see the mobile solution that Marcus talked about becoming a bigger part of our weighted average, and they have higher margins than what we have in the skip solution. So when we have looked at our full year guidance for order intake, we are looking, of course, at the actually received orders for now, but we are also looking in the quotation pipeline. And also in the quotation pipeline, we have seen an important increase in volume. The pipeline is like a funnel where the early state of the project is where we just have a budget quote out for the customer. Then we start negotiating price, maybe we start to do some pre-design work and so on. And the quotation comes more and more into the funnel, and then we arrive at a stage where we deliver a final quotation to the customer. When we have looked at the full year guidance, where you can see that we have a lower range of 35 million SEK, we have included orders we have received already in the expectation, of course, but we have also included orders that we see as very highly to come, and that is quotations that are very mature. Where, for example, we are down to 1 or 2 competitors, and we have already issued a final quotation, and we know from the dialogue with the customer that they are considering Bawat. So basically, we are just waiting to receive the order. We have 1 or 2 big ones on that one, where we for different reasons have not received the order yet, but we have already been asked to start the engineering work and so on. So that's the lower part. When we then look at the rest of the pipeline, we have other quotations that are less mature, but that we also convinced that some of them will come in. But as we are less certain, we have put in this range for where we expect to come out. I think also I should maybe just comment on the price development we have seen in the market. Of course, we are also exposed to recent prices, but we have quite well performed in this way because we give final quotation and we have a limited time that it is valued, and we do it based on either frame agreements with our suppliers or based on actual quotations on what delivers. So we have actually managed to realize our projects in line with the planned earnings that we have when we quote the projects. And I think we can go to the next one. Yeah, I'll just take the first one.
Yeah, take the first one, John, that's fine.
We became a public listed company, listed on NASDAQ on the 28th of March this year. As you might recall, the market sentiment was not the best at that point in time. So we actually went to the listing with 50% subscription, pre-subscribed of the offered capital, and we ended up with a total subscription, including the direct subscriptions, of around 80%, which is quite good in the market we were facing at that point in time. Coincidence was that 1/3 of the new shares was signed, subscribed by existing shareholders, and 1/3 was by pre-subscriptions, and the last third was actually coming from direct subscriptions under the IPO. On the back end of the IPO, we also addressed our debt to the Danish Maritime Fund and also to the Green Investment Fund. And we converted debt of 21.3 million Swedish kroner to shares. And at the same time, we renegotiated the terms of the loan to the Green Investment Fund so that we now sit back with a loan of 20 million Danish, that is around 30 million Swedish. where we have optimized the payback time as much as possible to preserve all the capital to growing Bawat. So now we are happily listed, and we have 700 new shareholders in Scandinavia and Finland. And we appreciate a lot all the support we have received from existing new shareholders. And yeah, we are just working hard now to grow the company.
Thank you, John. Yeah. So taking over from John on the IPO discussion, I mean, we raise capital primarily to grow our sales organization, and our ability to execute on the growth. And we can see that is happening right now. So we have new employees in sales and technology and in project management. We see that we have new orders coming in. On the sales organization, we can also say that after the half-year result, we have actually closed an agreement with a new sales agent in Germany, and we are just about to close also in Japan, which is some of the, let's say, major and important shipping markets where we have a large potential for our technology. Just as John said, on the operation, we are on 2 large orders. We've already received the engineering orders, and with that engineering orders, we are quite certain that that is a good sustainable part of our full year guidance. So that's why we are putting in that numbers that John mentioned before, between 35 and 50 million Swedish krona. On a technology side, we have also, in the first half year, we have also filed for a new patent where we are actually combining our heat treatment with a UV treatment for our American partnership where we will use that as a land-based technology in order to get increased volume for our land-based technology. And we will have more of that. And I can see also there is a discussion on IP protection, and we can take that once we get into the questions, which is right about now, because I think we have, if you go to the next slide, Michael, I think we have put in what we would like to share. But I think in highlights from this presentation today, we've executed an IPO. We are well underway with growing our organization. We are on a steep growth curve right now with continuous orders, and on all 3 business legs, both the vessels and the mobile systems and the service legs, we are having orders and are executing on all of them based on our organization here in Hørsholm, a little bit north of Copenhagen. All right. Happy to take questions.
Let's do that, Marcus. I think 2 of the same questions, actually. Very busy times for shipping companies. You also see yards being filled up, with new builds. How are they prioritizing building this in? Will it create more possibility for the land, maybe in the short term? And is there actually a chance that these IMO regulations will be pushed out? Simply because people can't catch it. So there's no reason to have regulation that is, people are not following.
Yeah, no, and I think very good questions. Simply, if you look at the intensity that the yards have to do in order to service all existing ships, then it's difficult to see that everything will be done before September 24. So simply based on logistics, that argues that something should be postponed. Whether that is half a year or 1 year, I don't know. There is nothing from IMO saying today that they will postpone it. What we are seeing is that quite a few clients are looking and also asking us if we can do on the flight or on this while sailing installation. And our equipment can do that. It requires more people on board the vessels, but it's definitely possible. So that will, of course, take some of the load off some of the installation yards. We're also seeing that some of the class societies and the flag states are giving extensions, but I would say in general, there's nothing that says that there's going to be a general extension. But what we do see is that with a more and bigger opportunity for mobile system and land-based system where it does not require a yard, I think there are more and more customers coming to us and say, if you have a system, let's say in the US and the Gulf of Mexico, where we are building up now, then we don't actually, when we go to the Gulf of Mexico coming in and out, we don't have to treat, we can simply just buy the service from you. So I think there are more and more customers looking to say, we actually need to do this from land rather than installing on the ship. And that would also, to a lesser extent, in the short term, take some of the load of the yards. But we and our competition will be very, very busy the next 2-3 years. Absolutely. And we are busy in that sense.
So then there's a question, about the IP. As you said, you use marine standard components, very nice for your supply chain, but maybe also harder to IP protect.
Yeah. I'll try to answer it quickly because it's a long discussion. In principle, we have a 2-layer protection. The first layer is actually our type approval. So you're not allowed to sell anything unless you have a type approval recognized by the IMO and the US Coast Guard. And that's a very long, costful, but it's also a very transparent process, meaning that if somebody wants to copy our technology, they have to send in a letter of intent that to the IMO that we will see that they will do heat treatment for ballast water. If they start with that, then we will fall back on our IP because we have recognized patents that we can then use to stop them. So what I'm trying to say is that we will not wake up Monday morning that somebody will have copied our equipment, simply because they won't be able to sell it to customers because they won't have a type approval. And the type approval process, we will use our patents to stop them. And that's why we have this 2-layer protection in that sense.
And I just wonder a little bit, UV is what you're competing against, but on your land base, you are now combining that. Is that to get the most energy efficient on land compared to the ships where you can reuse the energy, or is there some reason for putting in the UV there?
No, it's actually, as you said, to get them the best energy efficiency out of it from land on large volume. The challenge with UV in large scale is not so much the UV itself, it's the filter that has to be used in connection with the UV. They don't work very well. So what we can do on land is that we can combine the filter with our heat treatment and then optimize the filter and then take the UV, take the volume treatment. And that works very well. But you can only do that if you have availability to both the heat treatment and the UV. And as we are the only one with the heat treatment, we can buy the UV from anywhere and put it into our joint system. So even though we are using a competitor technology, we still have the market for ourselves because we are the only one that sits on the heat treatment.
And then a little bit of a bookkeeping question. Do you announce all orders coming in certain size, or how is your announcement policy?
Good question. No, we don't announce all of them, and we announce the ones that we think are significant and relevant, if it's a new segment or if it's a new market or if it's big enough to basically influence our year-end guidance. But we don't announce everything for that reason. So if we think it's relevant, we would definitely announce it. And some customers also do not allow us to announce it. So for many reasons, we cannot announce all. But anything that we think that's relevant for our business model or to tell about the maturity of our business legs, we will announce.
Perfect. Thank you, Marcus and John. I think we have went through the question and through your presentation and actually also run out of time. So 3 out of 3. So thank you, and have a nice day to you.
And thanks for everybody listening in.